Hey, welcome back to the Moto Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Nesler. Racing's back, folks. Super excited. I'm actually just getting back from the Bulldog GNCC down in Washington, Georgia. Man, what a great weekend it was. The folks at MX Sports and the Safe to Race Task Force did an excellent job putting together a system that allowed us to get back to racing. At no point did I feel unsafe, and man, it was great to see all of us back doing what we love on the East Coast. Had the pleasure of running into Randy Richardson, a guy that everybody knows and loves, and I think we're going to get him on the show as well. Randy and I both competed in the EMTB race at the Bulldog in Georgia. So, man, what a great weekend. And then on top of that, we got Supercross returning. It's a breath of fresh air, right? It's the sunlight that we all needed after what we all went through. Hey, I've got a great show for you today. One that we recorded a while ago that we've been trying to get through. We've had so many of these build up, which is awesome. It allowed us to help you guys have some content through the majority of the shutdown. And this is one that I've been wanting to get to for a little while. We got John Parkinson from Panic Rev, and I think Panic Rev is a really cool brand that has been around for a very long time. Obviously, Christian and faith-based brand that a lot of you might know from Trey Canard, as well as a few other riders that do some work with John. Great guy, and something really cool that he has built. I've been excited for you all to listen to this episode. So appreciate everybody listening. If you have suggestions of guests that you'd love to hear on the show or brands that you'd like for me to bring on, just shoot me an email, questions@motomarketingpodcast.com, as well as marketing questions, right? That's what this is about, marketing business questions. You can shoot those there, and they make great topics for us to be able to tie into these shows. Last but not least, a little bit of housekeeping for you. I want to remind you, because the offer is running out, it expires on June 10th. You can get 3 issues of Racer X for just 99 cents, right? If you can get digital issues for just 99 cents, $2.99, you can get print and digital. So again, 99 cents. If you're a penny pincher like Weege, you can get 3 issues of the digital magazine, which I'm reading some of the content that Mathis and Weege did in the most recent issue. Man, it's well worth it, right? 99 cents. And then on top of that, if you want to get the print and the digital, $2.99. You can get that offer up until June 10th at racerxonline.com/subscribe. Make sure you do it. If you let your subscription run out, renew, right? If nothing else, this is what allows the magazine to keep running, right? And people like Mathis and Davey and Weege and Andrew and all the guys there that provide you all the great content for free, this is how you can allow them to continue to do that. I appreciate you guys listening to the show. Hope you enjoy today's episode. Hope you enjoy the return of Supercross. Man, I can't wait. Hey, let's get into it with John Parkinson from Panic Rev.
Welcome to the Moto Marketing Podcast, presented by Racer X, the podcast for moto industry professionals, entrepreneurs, and riders. If you want to grow your brand and business in today's digital-first world, you have to know how to turn a stranger into a fan, turn a like into a customer. You have to know how to turn attention into dollars. This podcast is dedicated to keeping you in the know on real marketing tactics that work in the moto world so that you grow your business and help grow the sport. Get ready to learn from the very same marketing experts trusted by Racer X, Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, GNCC, and NBC Sports. They'll help you navigate the world of digital marketing for your moto brand. This is the Moto Marketing Podcast. Presented by Racer X.
Hey, and as I said in the intro, we got John Parkinson from Panic Rev with us today, and somebody that I was excited to have on because, man, I've known of the Panic Rev brand since, it seems like since I was a kid. Even though I still feel like I'm a kid, but I guess being 30 makes me a middle-aged man. I don't know, but I've heard of Panic Rev, or known of Panic Rev for a very long time, and we've got the guy behind the brand with us today, John Parkinson. Thanks for joining us, man. I appreciate you being on.
Yeah, absolutely. Pumped to be part of what you guys have going on and be one of your guests.
So, man, let's just go back to kind of the beginning, as briefly as we can. What what is Panic Rev? Where did that brand concept come from? And then how did you get that thing rolling? And then we'll talk about how we got it to where it is today.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we started back in 2003. And for you guys who don't know who we are, we're actually Christian ministry that is geared towards the motocross community. And it started really, really simple. We were just being out at the tracks, and we felt a need for to bring our beliefs and thoughts and all that kind of stuff to the track and to our passion that we had. And at the time, my brother was going through Bible college and growing up outside of the church. Motorcycle was our God. Motocross, riding dirt bikes, just period. It was what we did and who we were, really. So it was really easy for us to put our passion and at the time, it was all that we wanted to do. So my brother is actually trying to get away from motocross for a long time because he felt like it was a burden. And right around graduation time, he actually got a phone call from a now really good friend saying, "Hey man, what do you think about starting some kind of motocross ministry?" My brother, his answer was, "Man, I think I've been praying about this for the last 4 years, but I've actually been praying for God to take this passion away from me." And that's honestly the simple how simple it was. And we just started going to the track. We built some ghetto website. We knew nothing about web design or anything. We just knew we needed somewhere for people to go. So we
What
built
year
some
was this
ghetto
again?
website. In 2003. So it was, kind of new to us. And I mean, websites weren't huge then.
No, no, not at all.
We just knew we needed it. So so we started going to the track and just being there and sending people to our little ghetto website. But a little bit about how we've grown. At that time, I was actually working for a little amateur magazine called Final Lap Magazine, and I was a photographer for them. I was the editor for the magazine as well. So there's a lot of relationships going on at that time, and one thing led to another for Panic Rev. We started getting asked to come out to tracks and do devotions, do church in the morning or after races, and things just kept on growing. And here we are 16 years later, just continuing go through hoops that we feel led to do, doing our camps these days, doing clothing, just going to Supercross races, being there for people, doing weekly Bible studies with like Trey and Shane and Zach Osborne and all these other guys that are part of Panic Rev, and it's just really cool to see what has come over the last 16 years.
Yeah, I think it's what you guys have is pretty unique, and I'm curious if how sometimes how people, the first thing they think of when they hear Panic Rev, if you look at it as a good thing or a bad thing, because one of the first things I think of when I see your logo is the clothing and lifestyle brand, and I obviously know the background and what you guys stand for and the purpose that you have, but I don't. Now I'm not a pro rider, so obviously and I don't attend the camps and whatnot, so maybe other people think of it differently. But I'm curious, is that something you've seen more of now, to where people think of Panic Rev or say, yeah, I've heard of you guys before, you're the clothing company, or do you feel that you're more known as the ministry that is available at races and whatnot, or where do you guys stand with that? Because I thought that was kind of interesting. I look at it one way. I'm curious to see how others might as well.
Yeah, I think it's all over the board, to be honest. Here in California, we're well known for our ministry side of things because this is where we are. We do hold camps across the country. We're here in California. We have a couple camps. We're in Washington, Texas, Florida, South Carolina. We're trying to work our way more and more on the East Coast. But for those who we don't have real touches with, and we have Trey and Zach and Shane and these guys posting out about clothes, and they're wearing our clothes. So a lot of people do associate us as a quote unquote clothing line or brand. But honestly, that's a way that we market what we truly do. If you're coming to our website, you're probably going to check out who we are before you buy some clothes.
Sure.
So we use it all for what we truly are, and that is a ministry. And so even if you're on our website to buy some clothes, if you don't check out who we are before you buy some clothes, that's cool too. But at the end of the day, more times than not, people are gonna look at who we are and what we're all about before they check out. So
right.
they're seeing what we're really about. So.
Yeah, I think it's cool that obviously what you guys have done, and it continues to change. And like you said, you're all over the place, all over the board as far as some people think of Panic Rev and one light versus another, but I think the opportunity that a brand like you guys have today is pretty unique, because just with the nature of what we do, and the majority of our clients are in Moto, but we do have clients that are out of Moto, and a lot of our clients are clothing and apparel brands, and the ones that are the most successful are brands that have some type of a brands that actually have a brand. And you'd be surprised how many of them don't have true identities and brands, meaning that the brand doesn't stand for something. And the ones that do stand for something are the ones that do the best, because they get this tribe of followers and people that believe in the mission and the message, whatever it may be, whether it's religious or not. The brands that have that greater being behind it, that it stands for something, people gravitate toward it. There's a client that we work with called Hate Brand Goods, and it's H and then Roman numeral 8, so VIII. And a lot of people, when they see it, they have no idea what it is, and then they investigate and they look into it. And what Hate Brand Goods stands for is something that a lot of people that have been through trials and tribulations and overcome and have that chip on their shoulder, they relate to that brand, and that gets them in that ecosystem of consuming the content, and they're like, man, I'm really behind this message, and then that's how that brand blows up and explodes in a good way. I feel like and I know you've done some of that, and you have your apparel lines are really like on point. The designs are really tight. They're really cool looking, and I feel like you guys have that unique opportunity, if you haven't doubled down on it, to double down on it, to where when they see that Panic Rev logo with the crown, and somebody sees that and they feel like they can be part of that brand and get behind that movement. Those are the clothing brands that are the most successful today. Is that something that you guys have thought of and are really wanting to take it more in that direction, or is there another way you're wanting to go?
No, absolutely. That's huge, and making our I don't even like to call them customers, but making the people that are with the ministry as partners, honestly, and them coming on board and just buying a t-shirt, opening up a door for them to share who they are, and how Panic Rev is being used in their life, and that is the key to this whole thing, is just giving people opportunities to share about their life and God and what God has done in their lives, simply by wearing a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or a hat.
Sure.
And creating conversation, because in our community, in the motocross community, Panic Rev, right? Like, oh, that's kind of cool. People come, oh man, I like it. What's it all about, right? So it creates great conversation. So and more times than not, our partners are returning people, and whether it's at camp or our clothing. Yeah. More times than not, it is returning partners, customers, and obviously that needs to grow, and hopefully more people become aware of who we are and what we're doing.
Yeah, and I think it's again, I think it's a really cool thing that you guys are doing, and I think it's cool how long. I didn't realize it's been since the early 2000s that it got started.
Yes, sir.
And it's it gets better. You know, I mean, your designs are improving, and I'm sure the camps and everything are expanding. What are some things you've learned over, man, the past decade, I guess now, that you guys have changed your business model? What do people react to more? The camps, the apparel. Like, what are some things you've learned that you've implemented in that business model moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest things is don't get stuck in your ways, and be willing to grow and go into new avenues. When we started, social media wasn't even really a thing. I think MySpace was a thing then.
Right. Yeah.
But it wasn't even like a huge deal. And now social media is almost everything. We just got done with Black Friday, and we have orders all over the world, right? From Australia and Germany and just places where I've never personally been. But without social media, none of that would happen.
So with the social media piece of that, is it just you guys sharing the Panic Rev brand? Is it the athletes and influencers that are sharing the brand? Is it a mixture of both? Do you have any idea specifically for those that are out of the country, those orders coming in? Do you have any inclination of where that's coming from, that traction?
I believe it's both, to be quite honest. Obviously the athletes that we partner with and are a part of their lives, and they're a part of what Panic Rev is doing, has a huge following, right?
Yeah.
So obviously they share a lot for us, and people look at that. And to be quite honest, I'm not 100% sure of where every every order comes from, but I'm sure it has a touch with Trey or Shane or one of those guys that
Sure.
really partner with us.
So the first quote-unquote influencer or athlete that you guys really had that, let's put it this way, the way that I learned about who you guys were was Trey Canard. Back early in Trey's career. Was that your first athlete that really attached himself to the Panic Rev brand?
If
Pro
we're
athlete.
if we're gonna have a real conversation, like Trey, other than like Greg Albertine, Trey's really the guy that has carried that crown as far as being a motocrosser that stands firm in his faith. So as I mentioned earlier, I worked for Amateur Magazine. And so during that time, I would travel to all the amateur nationals, Loretta's, and Whitney, and all of those Minios and everything. So it gave me a great opportunity to create these relationships with these riders. And Trey was one of those guys. And so that was kind of when he went pro, before he went pro, but when he made his debut, it's just something that happened naturally. It wasn't anything that we went out and like seeked after it. It was just, hey man, like this is who we are. That's who you are. However this looks, however we can, I would love to have you a part of what's going on here.
It was just a natural fit.
It was just natural.
Yeah.
And it's been ever since then, that it's not even a partnership. It's just friendship, and we're on the same page. And, he's still a huge part of everything going on here.
Yeah. I told you the first time we spoke, it's like, man, you sound a lot like Trey Canard. Is that the first time you've ever had somebody say that to you?
Trey specifically, yes.
Yeah, it's funny. So what are some things that you have that you've learned really in more of the internet age? Obviously in 2003 and 4, the internet was there, but it's nowhere near what it is now. Since social media really became and digital became, look, it's mandatory, right? You have publications like Racer X that have a massive digital presence. You have, the media, big brands of today, like NBC, that look, NBC Sports said it before a lot of small businesses even realized it, but people aren't watching TV like they used to. So what do? They have an app. So everything is done. Our lives pretty much revolve around the internet. What are some things that you've learned as you saw your business kind of go through that change in how we consume media that were really critical and important to the success or failure of the brand as it moved forward?
Yeah, it's huge. As I mentioned before, we wouldn't have the touches that we do today if it wasn't for social media, and just being active in today. Like, things are even evolving today, obviously, with social media and algorithms and all that kind of stuff. So it
changes all the time.
It changes almost daily, right?
For sure.
So being willing to not get stuck in a rut of, this worked in the past, right? Well, it probably won't work for much longer. And engagement and all these kinds of things that are going on right now. The engagement thing with people is huge. If you're engaging with people, then believe you more people are going to be engaging with you, right? So there's just, man, it's hard to pinpoint anything because it's honestly changing on a daily basis, and as you know, that's a job in itself. But just being willing to learn and understand how things work and not get stuck in the way you thought in the past.
Sure. For sure.
Just willing to go out there and try new things, whatever that looks like. And someone told me, hey, whatever new social media platform comes out, just create a page. Just create a page because you don't know if it's next. And I'm like, that's true, man.
Yeah. Are you so? I guess the easiest way to ask this question is how many people how many people does Panic Rev employ? Is it just you and your family?
Yeah, man. It is. There's usually two of us in here. That's doing 95% of things. And that's from marketing. That's from shipping out orders, running camps.
That's amazing.
And going to the tracks and doing that kind of stuff. The camps are obviously way more volunteers and we hire trainers and all that kind of stuff. But day to day, there's two of us out of this office doing everything.
So where I'm going with that is if you haven't looked at Panic Rev's, just the Instagram page, really the logo, like everything that you guys put out, it's clean, it's crisp, it's on brand. Nothing looks like it's slopped together like small businesses have the tendency to do. And obviously there are some folks that work for large brands here that have teams. Your guys' content is always very consistent and consistently strong and crisp and clean. What are some things that you can shed some light on that allow you guys to do that? From obviously you're probably just a naturally skilled or trained photographer, so that's a big part of it. But what type of planning goes into your social media to make sure that this stuff is on brand? Because it is very easy to just whip your phone out, grab a shot, and it not be completely on brand. And with a brand that does have a clothing line like you guys do, it is important for everything to stay consistent and to not have one sloppy image in your Instagram feed, because that does play a negative role. How have you guys done that with just a team of two and kept everything as strong as it is?
Yeah, it's huge. And to be honest, photography wise, and I'm confident there. But my brother's huge in that area of things. So I've learned a lot from him. And so, back in the day, it was just, let's post anything and everything. And now it's like, no, it's so important to stay on track. We have a brand, something to show people. And whether that means that I don't post something today because it's not A quality. I will post tomorrow once or twice or whatever, right? Like, but it has to be A quality. It can't be B-roll stuff, in my opinion. We pride ourselves on looking very, very professional. People come to our office. We don't have like a retail space, but people come to our office and go, "This is it," right? Because it's just an office in a warehouse,
right?
And I'm like, yeah, what do you expect? Like Fox or so? I don't know what you're expecting. But people just go, man, it from the outside it looks way bigger, which that is a good thing, but also maybe a bad thing at times. But when I hear those things, I take a sense of pride in that, just because, hey man, like people look at what we're doing and see something big, and hopefully one day it gets way bigger than where we are today. And obviously we've taken steps there from the beginning. So yeah, it's a priority, something that you can't just, I'm going to post something right now. It's something that has to be planned out. And that is something that we have a plan, a weekly plan, a daily plan of getting information out there and making
That's big.
posts.
So you guys do have specific plans that you, guidelines and whatnot, that you follow to make sure that you're on track with everything. It's not just flying by the seat of your pants.
And honestly, on Instagram, the stories are great because now we can kind of throw
there it is.
Out there, right?
Exactly. That's a great point. People have asked me that, like, how many times a day should I post? Well, it depends. It's a very different type of cadence on Instagram stories than it is on your Instagram feed, whereas your feed should be more, look, if you had your own digital publication, you should look at your feed as that, and your Instagram story can be the behind the scenes of that, and that helps keep that's again, I'm just super impressed with how clean everything is, knowing that you guys are a pretty lean team, not realizing it was two people. And I think you just, kind of shared the secret there that, look, we got a plan, we follow it, and then you leverage Instagram stories to put the more raw, organic content out.
Absolutely.
That's
awesome. If we're at the track or if we get new clothing in, all that kind of stuff is important. So all that kind of stuff goes on stories, but our meat and potatoes, that is posted on our feed.
Yeah. As we kind of wrap things up, I always like to ask, what's the one or two things that you are looking forward to doing a better job of, or feel that you guys do need to evolve and do a better job as we move into 2020, 2021, just an ever-changing, evolving, world of how our customers consume media content? What are one or two things you're looking forward to implementing or improving as, the year moves on?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, no one can be stagnant. That's one of the biggest things. Something that I'm excited about doing is we're going to be doing a lot more like live feeds. We're going to have a live once a week Bible study / everybody's going to want to call it a podcast. We're going to do that once a week, and that's obviously becoming huge. We're already behind the 8 ball, if I'm being honest. But
we always
live, live stuff right now is huge on Facebook and YouTube. And I get excited about doing that kind of stuff, having athletes come in and sit down with us, have Q&A type of deal. And it just expanding. We have a couple downhill mountain biker racers that are on the World Cup side of things, and they're excited about what's going on at Panic Rev. I don't know what's going to happen there, but just expanding on what's going on already here and seeing what's next, man. Like I said, the live feeds are huge. That's something that we will most definitely start digging into a little bit more, and just kind of rolling with the punches. That's kind of how we have to operate with a team of two.
The more opportunities that anybody, especially a brand like you guys, the more opportunities that you allow somebody to attach themselves to your brand, the better. That's why, the podcasts, for example, that do the best aren't those that are just sporadic. It's if you know that this podcast is going to be available every week, or even better than that, every Tuesday at noon. The more consistent I have the opportunity to attach myself to your brand, the more of a loyal following you'll grow, because people like that ritual of, I wake up, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this, then I do this. And if they can grow to, there's a business influencer that we follow. He goes live every single day at noon. So my staff knows that they can consume that content on their lunch break, and they enjoy it and they look forward to it. It's a really smart trick for anybody listening to grow your brand. It's show up consistently every day, every week, every month, whatever your cadence is, but allow your audience to know what that is. And it sounds like that's part of your plan, especially with the Bible studies and more of the live content.
Absolutely. And just as I said, there's a schedule for our posting. There's obviously going to be a schedule for this every Wednesday. Here on the West Coast, it will be right around 10 a.m. So that's the game plan, and it's to let people, hopefully the listeners, one of the biggest things is not to get discouraged when you try something new and you're a month in and going, man, there's just no traction here. And it's like, man, you need way more than a month.
Yeah, exactly.
Of looking into this and getting data to make it worth it. And obviously, at the end of the day, Panic Rev is quite a bit different than these another brand, because it's way bigger than a T-shirt sell to us. There's way more depth than that in our brand. So one person watching our live stream, it's worth it for me. I know that sounds backwards.
No, it doesn't at all. I mean, there's a quote that one is better than zero, and it's specifically around what you're talking about. Everybody is so caught. Social media is way too much of a popularity contest in everybody's mind. We're like, yeah, but I want 50,000 followers. Okay, but how many of those 50,000 followers are engaged with you? Right. If you have one or two and they're resonating with your brand, or in your guys' brand's case, I mean, it's making a difference in their life in a big way. It's way better than 200 people, 2,000 people seeing it and it not really resonating. So,
yes, sir.
Man, that's a big deal, and I think it's something that I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's the biggest brand in Moto today. If they're listening to this, that's something that is way too often overlooked. They're going for the metrics. Well, the metrics don't always mean what they appear. 200,000 people doesn't mean as much as 20 people that are actually taking action and attaching themselves to the brand. So.
Absolutely.
That's awesome,
Absolutely.
man. Well, man, I'm grateful for you coming on the podcast, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you more and learn more about the brand and seeing what you guys do over the next year. Again, we have John Parkinson from Panic Rev on the show today. Obviously, you can go to panicrev.org. But John, where else can people follow you? What's the Facebook, the YouTube, the Instagram situation look like?
Yeah, on Facebook, you could check us out at Panic Rev Ministries. YouTube is Panic Rev Films. We're all over the map. And then on Instagram, which is probably our biggest platform, is at Panic Rev. Check us out. Get connected. You guys have any questions, feel free to ring us or shoot us an email or a DM, whatever. We would love to connect with anyone out there with questions. And one of the biggest things is just get connected and see what we're all about, and check out the camps as well, camprev.com.
Very cool. Well, man, I appreciate it. I think it's great what you guys have done and continue to do, and wish you nothing but success, and looking forward to the next time that we get to have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to it, and I appreciate your time and getting us on here and being a part of what you guys are doing over there.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Moto Marketing Podcast. If your goal is to get real, measurable results from your marketing that will grow your company revenue, Then check out how Impakt Media can get the same results that they have for Moto's most iconic brands by visiting thinkimpakt.com. That's THINKIMPAKT.com. Have a marketing question that you want answered on the show? Send your questions to questions@motomarketingpodcast.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Moto Marketing Podcast.